several times, rode around the world. He was a good wrestler here. And Wes Hester, our first All-American here. David Grant. So he joins a long list of kids that were here during my tenure. And I had to take notes. A lot of you senior men of you realize that your memory is the second thing you lose after you start getting older. But Seth came to us as a sophomore, and we did things different. We always did. We had a lot of fun in that room, but when the door shut, we were serious. And today they call that hazing. But we had a lot of things that went on in that room. We had a good time, and these guys were close. A lot closer than they wanted to be sometimes, but they were tight. They covered each other's backs on this entire campus and in this community. So if they saw one messing up, they didn't come to me. They took care of business. They were self-policing. And I was very proud of that. And if they came to me, it was real bad. But only one ever came to me, and he turned out to be a state runner-up twice. So that worked out well for him and for me. Seth came to us as a sophomore with a reputation from, I believe it was Cobra. Is that right, Seth? Yeah. And he was on a team over there that was loaded. It was stacked. They weren't in the Jordan district, so what good? I mean, I was trying to figure out how in the world we were going to beat Chapel Hill, because that's where they were going. And then I swear I didn't recruit one of them. They all ended up at Jordan. All four of them. Thank you, Jesus. Seth was here and compiled a record of 116-4 in only 3 years. And that's not 4. He wasn't a freshman. He only got to start as a sophomore. And yes, those 4 losses are my fault, Seth. I was off my game that day. But when he got here, he brought an attitude, a very positive attitude, and wrestling's different than any other sport. I still say it's the only sport in high school that's fair because it goes by weight. Doesn't matter if you're a senior, doesn't matter if you're a freshman, and if you beat the guy's butt during challenge matches, you're the starter. He sits down that week, and there's nothing he can do about it. So every week, your job's on the line to maintain it. Back then, we had a tradition. I had a young man that helped me named James Snipes, and he got cut from the Jordan basketball team. And at the time he got cut, he was the only kid in Jordan that could dunk. So I never figured that out, but thank you, Coach Avery. He walked into the mat room, never wrestled a day in his life as a senior, but he was just an athlete. He went 19-7 and had never seen a wrestling mat before, and he came back to help me and turned out to be probably the best assistant coach I've ever worked with. And we kind of read each other's mind. So we decided we were going to go out and wrestle the toughest schedule we could find before January. Conference matches started after Christmas. So we went into, Greensboro was the hot spot back then, South Carolina. So we went over to the Orange Invitational, and Seth had worked his way into the starting lineup as a sophomore, and he bumped one of my seniors who quit because Seth beat him as a 10th grader. And the senior that he beat had been all conference in the 10th and 11th grade. So that tells you a little bit about character. And there was a kid from Cary named Grady Harris, defending state champion and picked to win the state. Well, Seth got him in the second round, and they butted heads. And all I can remember, this is before HIV/AIDS and all that, that orange mat was blood red. And it was Seth's blood. And I thought, oh, probably a concussion. I swear I didn't know it if he had one. But I think Miss McMurray taped him up really, really tight. Seth went out and beat him. And the whole gym got quiet. He earned MVP for that tournament, and that was a big tournament. And I remember looking at Coach Snipes and said, this is going to be fun. We're going to have some fun with this. And his reputation got out, and his sophomore year, he went on to win the state championship. Of course, we were all proud of him, and the group that he was with, they all excelled. His junior year, unfortunately, he was fighting the flu, and he drew a kid to semis from Independence High School. See, I'll never forget these matches there. Never. And unfortunately, he got beat then, but he had the courage and the will to come back and win third place. So that was his only loss that year. And when he came off the mat, he said, that was my state championship match. He lost by 1 point. And then his senior year, when we could find somebody that would wrestle him, back then, you could dodge a good wrestler. And the rule was the home team had to put their kid on the mat first. Well, all the coaches would wait, and if Seth went out there, forfeit, forfeit. They wouldn't even send the guy out to wrestle. Wow. So I'm sorry about that, but you created the monster. You had to live with it. When he came to us, he brought things that you can't coach. He brought a winning attitude. He was not cocky at all. He was not a narcissist. He just worked. He brought a work ethic like none I've ever had before or since. He came in the room, he was 100% serious. He made every wrestler in that room better because of his work ethic and his determination. And gosh, he had a 4.0 grade average. And he was taking AP courses. And some of you, I don't know many of you though, some of you were in some of these classes. But Seth was very good in his classwork. And I used to ask teachers, I tried to monitor my kids 24/7, and we had a cafeteria manager named Mrs. Richardson. Some of you remember her. And Mrs. Richardson would coach. She would walk all the way down to the little gym. Your 105-pound wrestler's eating a donut. I said, take it away from him. And she would. And she put it back in the bag, give it to me, and have a little note on there and give it to him after practice. But, you know, these kids had to make weight. Never worried about Seth making weight. He was always going to be dead on when he got there. He led by example. He made everybody in that room better. He made me look like a better coach, which I was his manager, not his coach. He brought his wrestling talent from Pennsylvania when he got to the South. So I was his business manager. He made everybody around him better. And he's went on into life, and I'm very proud of this. He's the CEO of a 300,000 square foot corporation in the park called M+, which is international. I think Seth gets to go to France about, what, once a month? He hangs out in Paris with his other part of his company. So he's done well. He's taken some of our challenge wrestlers and gave them jobs. So I can pick on them now. And really, he was a joy to have. His mom, Carol's here tonight, and his beautiful family's here. And Carol, I think, traveled everywhere we went for 3 years, you were there. So she put a lot of miles on her car to these tournaments. But he always had good support. And the kids would always go to him with questions. And he shared his skills. It was like having a third coach in the room who they related to. And hopefully wished he'd shared some of his academic skills with some of these guys. But they didn't bite into that. They bought into the wrestling skills. But he made us all better, and I'm extremely proud to put him in that special group with Wes Hester, Herbie, David Grant. And he did obtain all conference honors, obviously, every year. He was high school All-American his senior year. He's only the second one Jordan's had. Wes Hester was the first. So he did achieve that. And I'd just like to welcome Seth to the Hall of Fame and have some more wrestlers following him.
Well, I'd just like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank, first of all, Coach Rogers for all of his support and teaching us how to work hard and how to be a team. He was a phenomenal coach. I'd also like to thank Coach Snipes, Coach Norman, Fran Farrell, who I don't know if she's here tonight, for all their support over the years. They were just fantastic. Coach, Mr. Weber, thank you for keeping us in line and watching out for us. Ms. McMurray, thank you for keeping us healthy. Stephen, thanks for putting this together. I'd also like to thank my family, thank my mom for all of her support, and she did a phenomenal job of keeping the referees in line. On occasion, there would be footwear flying from the stands. But being in Jordan was a great experience, and thank you.
Thank you, Seth.